The Reds salvaged a split against the Fish, leaving them in position to do exactly what we said they needed to do before the All-Star break. We'll tell you what they have to do next on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this Reds team for a combined 14 seasons, and we are glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And on today's podcast, we've got one last word. Okay, well, almost one last word. I got a draft preview show that's going to be coming out tomorrow. But one last word on the draft. We're going to say who we want the Reds to ultimately pick at number 9, supposing these players are available. We'll discuss that later on in the show. The Reds, as we mentioned with the series split, have a key need as to how they need to approach this weekend. We will discuss that coming up in just a few minutes. But we will begin with how the Reds got that split. That's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to save $20 off your first purchase. Steve, it was all about Elly De La Cruz and Spencer Steer and the bats on Thursday because the Reds were able to get that series split right before Old Dominion took the stage. And I think that really, as annoying as this sounds, they're still in a perfect position to do exactly what we said they should do.
You know, when I went on my rant, and by the way, I'm taking credit for the split because, of course, I go on a rant against the team and call out Francona a little bit and then go out and win the next 2 and do it pretty impressively. But you look at how this team performed over the last 2 games. The bats have awoken. Yeah. They're doing great things. Spencer Steer, that home run yesterday off the facade in left field, absolutely got all of that ball. These are the kind of things you need to see. And Elly De La Cruz continues to become, it's the complete player, the all-around guy. You and I were talking about this while we were watching the game, that, he's just getting on base and making things happen. Mm-hmm. It's not, we talked about his steal numbers being down. He doesn't have to steal. He's getting a lot of extra base hits. He's on base. He's in a position to score. He doesn't have to do anything but wait for somebody to drive him in. It's been really fun to watch how he's developed. If this is who Elly's going to be, it's only going to benefit the Reds for years to come while he's here. He continues to morph his game into being disciplined, especially his at-bats lately have looked disciplined. He's been patient. He's let the pitchers come to him. He hasn't tried to make something happen or overswing or just carry a weight of, I have to hit a home run right here to carry this team. He's kind of just playing his game and trusting that the players around him in the lineup are going to get things done.
Well, and we've said it a bunch of times, like if he just cuts back, 30, 40 strikeouts or something like that in a year, and he turns that into balls that he just puts into play. They don't even have to all be hits. It's just put those balls in play instead of swinging and missing or looking at strike 3. We're seeing that, and we are seeing what that has done to his game as a whole. And I find it intriguing that early on in the season, whenever the Reds lineup was really struggling and we were wondering, how do you fix this? A lot of people were saying, and I was even wondering myself, do you put Elly at leadoff? But it is clear there's no more clutch hitter in this lineup than Elly De La Cruz is. So you need that guy hitting third. You need that guy hitting with guys on base. I have changed my understanding a couple of different times on this, changed my thoughts on this a couple of different times, and I now believe that he is exactly where he should be. Tito was right from the start to put him in that third spot because he has evolved where it felt like the key to his value as a player was his legs and what he does on the base paths. That's flipped. I mean, that's part of it. That is definitely a key component, but he is now so dangerous with the bat, and he's added the ability to hit well from the right side. He's added to his plate discipline, cutting back on the strikeouts and increasing the walks, and that has led to the most recent history. We discussed this a lot during the game as well, like how many of these stats are just so specialized. This is a pretty simple stat. The fact that Elly now has over 100 hits before the All-Star break and he joins super, super rare company. And Pete Rose and Barry Larkin is the only Reds to ever do that. Like, that is an impressive stat, where it feels like some of the other ones you're just like, okay, we're squinting really hard to say that Elly's making history. This one really speaks to the overall game and the overall step that he has taken.
Yeah, it really does. 2 for 4 yesterday. He picked up an RBI along the way. He only struck out one time, to your point, of really limiting his strikeouts in those 4 plate appearances. He's really coming along. And I don't want to underestimate the value of some other guys in the lineup yesterday.
Yeah.
We haven't even brought up the name Austin Hayes, who we've kind of been waiting for him to get back into that mode that he was in before the injuries derailed him again. And he also went 2 for 3 yesterday with 3 RBIs in the game. So, Elly set the table and Austin Hayes delivered, which is how it's supposed to work. I know, right? In Cincinnati, we've got the middle of the lineup actually producing runs. I didn't think it was legal either, but here we are. They're out there doing it. And then you get a great pitching performance to go along with it as well, where Nick Lodolo and you and I both collectively held our breaths when they put the shot of him on the screen looking at his finger about that blister. But, apparently, if that's what was going on, he was able to power through it. Trainers didn't come out. They looked at it in the dugout. So as of our recording today, I haven't heard anything as far as a blister issue. So hopefully that was a little bit of nothing that we all just collectively held our breath over. But, Lodolo looked really, really good at times. You and I were talking about his breaking ball and the fact that when he wasn't looking really good, the breaking ball wasn't looking really good either. And you and I are surmising that, he was looking at his finger, probably a little bit of a hot spot, because I suspect he changed his grip a little bit back to the old grip, which is why the breaking ball looks better than it has in the previous few starts.
The breaking ball is the difference between a middle to top of the rotation starter and a reliever. Because if he doesn't have that breaking ball, he's just a fastball changeup guy, and that's not a guy that can give you 6 innings every 5 days. Mm-hmm. So that's the key part for him. And I think he understands that. Derek Johnson understands that, and that's why we've seen the work that he's put in. But I want to go back to the lineup for a minute, because Spencer Steer, that home run that he had, it's just another sign, another moment in what has been an amazing stretch for him. And I know that John Sadak said the last month for Spencer Steer has been really good. I want to take that even further. The last 50 games. So we're not even talking about a tiny sample size. He's like to single out small sample sizes to see if it's a trend or see if it's a fluke or something like that. 50 games is not a fluke. 50 games is a heck of a trend. And for the last 50 games, Spencer Steer has slashed .301, .340, and he's slugging .500. I mean, we're talking about the guy that we expected to see. The mashed potatoes are back, Steve. The lumps are out. We're talking about some nice, smooth, maybe even a little bit of gravy on top, too. Boy. A little bit of beef gravy, I think, maybe, not the turkey gravy. But, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Spencer Steer.
And, we know how bad he was at the start of the year. And we know he was playing through injury and he was trying to help the team. We know the story, right? But you take those 50 games and now jump out and look at the wide angle view of his entire season. He now has his slash line up to 252, 307, 412 after that awful start. So the numbers everything is trending in the correct direction. And I think he's going to finish the season exactly where we thought he was going to be and be exactly the player we thought he was going to be. It took that shoulder getting right. It took the time for him to get to this spot, but he's now a guy that when he comes up to bat in the lineup, I have confidence that he can get something done. And it really wasn't that way at the beginning of the season. April and May, I did not feel that way when Spencer Steer came up to bat.
No, his swing looked slow in April, and you kind of wondered. You're like, there's only one way to go about this, and that's just to let him work it out. And it really looks like he's worked it out. And I'm happy to see that overall. But that was the kind of performance the Reds needed to put together to get that series split and to set them up for what's next.
Well, you and I have been talking about what this stretch of 7 games needed to look like. We've talked about this team managing to do what we're asking of it in the most frustrating way possible, and they've now set that up. So coming up next, we're going to talk about exactly what they have to do to be in a good position heading into the All-Star break. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands. You'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast, even Hawaii. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, if you use the promo code SH5, you're going to get 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Make sure that you have subscribed so that you get all of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. If you're subscribed 5 days a week, you're going to get Jeff and I right here on the mothership, the Locked On Reds podcast, Monday through Friday. You're also going to get Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game going live with the Reds postcast to talk about what it is that you just saw. He had a great show last night coming off of that split. So let's dive back into this because, as I mentioned, the Reds have done what we ask of them through the gauntlet part of the schedule, which was to be right around 500. In fact, they were 2 games over 500 coming out of that stretch. A little bit better than what we ask of them, in fact. But they did it in the most frustrating way possible. Losing the series they should have won, winning the series we didn't think they would win, and keeping the record where we wanted it to be. We said coming into the All-Star break, they had this 7-game stretch where we wanted them to go 5-2. 5-2 in that stretch puts them into the All-Star break 5 games over 500. And it gives them a position to really be a buyer, really be in the conversation for the wild card heading into the second half. I know it's not games number, but the second half of the season. They go out and drop the first 2 games to the Fish. I lose my mind. We have the rant. They salvage the split, and now they're going up in a 3-game set against the Colorado Rockies, who are very, 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 I can't say very enough, very bad. They're very bad. The Reds really do have an opportunity to sweep this series. And if they do that, they will have gone
and done what we said.
5-2. And head into the All-Star break 5 games over 500 and be in position to da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
That's the tough part, too, because it feels like if they go 2-1, it's a failure. And they really need to sweep these Rockies. And it's hard to say, that a professional baseball club needs to sweep another professional baseball club because at some point, professional baseball players play like professional baseball players, whether that be good or bad. That's just how the game goes. So I'm a little leery of saying that they have to sweep, but they have to sweep. And especially with the pitching matchups that they have against the Rockies. Of course, Chase Burns going tonight on Friday. But ultimately, every single guy that you're facing on that Rockies team has high ERAs, gives up a lot of runs. And, oh, by the way, this team is bad on the road. And that's on top of this general being badness that they have. They're just even worse on the road. So there's not a whole lot of, boy, oh boy, gosh darn, tip your cap, they just beat us today. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm setting ourselves up here for what almost feels like a little bit of like a Yankees fan mentality where it's just like either the Reds win or the Reds lose. They're not losing. The Rockies aren't going to win one of these games. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to be the Reds beat themselves.
Right. The Reds have to give one away. I'm excited where it starts tonight, Jeff, because Chase Burns is on the mound. This is a prime opportunity, a prime chance for Chase Burns to go out there and in front of the hometown fans continue to move in a positive direction. Yep. Now, the start where he got his brains beat in, I know that that's still lingering in his mind just a little bit. The start in Philadelphia, much, much better. Thanks. Now he comes back to home to face a lineup that he should dominate. Yes. They have not seen his stuff. These hitters are not that good. I would like to see a pretty high strikeout total for Chase Burns tonight, and I would like to see him really dominate this lineup.
I'm looking at one stat, and it's not strikeouts. I'm looking at walks. Don't walk anybody.
Don't walk anybody.
No walks. Okay. I don't even care how many strikeouts he has. Just don't walk anybody because it feels like a team like the Rockies is only going to be a thorn in your side if you put guys on base for them because they're not a high on base team. I mean, they don't do anything well. And we're saying all of this, and I'm sure that the Rockies are probably going to end up scoring like 8 runs in one of these games because that's just how it happens. But if you analyze who the Colorado Rockies are, it's not really hard to come to the conclusion that they're good. So this is a start where Chase Burns, to show his growth, to show that his continued progression in this game is happening, is just keep the ball in the strike zone. Obviously, don't throw beach balls at them, but at the same time, don't walk guys. Don't help them out. Make sure that anything that they get is because they got a hit, not because they got walks. Because that's something that Nick Lodolo did yesterday that was perfect. That was his 6th start this season, Steve, that he didn't walk anybody in. And that's been his biggest thing this year that has kept him, even though he's had some starts where it seems like he's kind of struggled a bit. It's because he does not walk people that he has kept his overall season pretty good. And Chase Burns could take one really big note on that. I want to see 0 walks today for him.
You know, that's a good ask and a realistic ask.
Yes.
Really. I'm going to be down at the ballpark tonight, so I'm excited to get to see Chase Burns live. Now, I won't be in my normal spot. For those of you that come see me at my normal spot, I'm going to be up in I think it's the Admirals Club now, or whatever the Valley Sports Club is now. I'm up there tonight with my uncle. But
Eddie Warbucks
I'm really excited to see Chase Burns live. You know, an opportunity to watch him pitch in person. Really looking forward to that. And it really just sets the table. Chase Burns needs to go out and have a good game. The Reds need to win this game in order to do what we're asking of them. And then the series really looks pretty good the rest of the way as well, as far as the pitching matchups and how the Reds pitchers should perform against this Rockies lineup.
Is it really called the Admirals Club?
I think so. Who
think came up with
I don't
that?
know.
What does that have anything to do with the Reds? That's strange. Anyway, but yes, no, I'm looking forward to that. Overall, how does the pitching as a whole, like Chase Burns tonight, everybody else this weekend, the bullpen, everybody, how do they finish this off strong and get into the All-Star break? Because it kind of felt like Terry Francona made sure that guys got some work in on Thursday. What is it?
It's not the Admirals Club. That's the airline lounge. I've been flying a lot.
Admirals Club. Like, what's that got anything to do with that?
I've been flying a lot. I don't know. I think it's just the Scouts Club. I'm not sure. It's FanDuel something. Yeah.
Anyway,
not the Admirals Club. Sorry.
But I do want to see how everybody finishes this off strong, because it'll be easy. And trust me, I'm sure that Terry Francona is going to have these players prepared. But the moment that they step out on the field, there might be a tendency for one or two of these guys to go, you know what? That's the Rockies. These guys are bad. I'm about to go chill somewhere for like a couple of days on this All-Star break. Let's just coast, right? Don't do that.
No.
Go hard. Let's have a good weekend and go into the All-Star break and really enjoy a nice first half.
Yeah, because the players know. We're not the inventors of how the Reds need to be in the best position heading through the All-Star break. They know this is an opportunity to maybe even get into this wild card spot. As we're talking right now, they're 3 games out of the final wild card spot.
3 games in the loss column behind San Francisco.
So they could, stranger things have happened. There's 3 games left. They could go in to the All-Star break nearly tied for the final wild card spot. So the players see that. The manager and the coaches of this team, Terry Francona is the manager, he's not a coach. The manager and coaches of this team.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I know you have. If you see Jeff in person sometime, ask him about that story, folks. If they continue to go hard right now, good things can happen. They all see this. I imagine they're talking about this. Now, they're not going to look at the cameras. They're going to say all the right things. They're going to say, we take it 1 game at a time. We're not worried about that. We're just trying to win today. Those are the things they're going to tell you. They see the standings. They see the schedule. They know this is an opportunity.
And the thing that they can control is whether or not they win. And if they end up sweeping the Rockies, there's a chance, because you got a madder than a hornet's nest Dodgers team facing the Giants this weekend. So there's a chance the Dodgers could sweep the Giants and the Reds would be tied with the Giants, which the Reds have the tiebreaker in that case. But Reds could be tied for a wild card spot heading into the All-Star break, and that would be a lot of fun.
It definitely would change the narrative around here a little bit, wouldn't it?
A couple of days ago, we were supposed to trade everybody, and
I heard we were sellers. The comment section. Some of you guys, we have the receipts. We have the receipts that we have the receipts.
yeah, exactly. But the good news is that's not what we're talking about now. But let's shift focus here, because we are a couple of days away. I am so excited for this draft. And we know exactly how the Reds should attack the number 9 pick. We'll tell you why coming up next. The next time that you're getting down to the ballpark, use Game Time to get down to the ballpark. Steve and myself do this literally every time we go. I mean, it's rare that we don't use Game Time because they've got the best deals, especially on last-minute prices. If you're going to go down to the ballpark and it's like, hey, let's see what kind of deals we got day of, Game Time is going to help you out with that. We post up at the banks, find us a nice spot to relax, closer to first pitch, see what kind of deals we can find because they're always out there. Check out Game Time today. Download the app and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to save $20 off your first purchase. Game Time is going to help you out if you're in Cincinnati, if you're on the road. They show you your view from the seat. You know exactly what you're getting. That's Game Time. Download the app, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and save $20 off your first purchase because Game Time has the last-minute deals at the lowest prices, guaranteed. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on every single one of them. Go check us out today. And when you're done watching today's show, make sure you go check out Locked On MLB Game Night. They watch every game every night, so you don't have to. That's over on the Locked On MLB feed. All right, Steve, 2 days away. Reds got number 9 pick. We've talked a lot about some different guys and mentioned different names, and there were even some that we didn't get to that I've seen like as plan Bs if everyone that we have seen on mock drafts are not available. We haven't really touched on those. There was a high school shortstop, a guy named Steele Hall. There were a couple of other college pitchers and things like that. But I really do believe that the Reds are going to have an opportunity to pick one of the guys that we've already talked about. And with that being said, we have said all along that Locked On Reds is officially an Ike Irish podcast, really hoping that happens. But the only way that I don't want that to happen is if Aiva Arquette is available.
Yeah, Arquette, if you look at those two players side by side, I think Arquette is the better pick, which is also the reason I don't think he's going to be available at number 9. I think he's going to be off the board already. Yeah. But if he should fall and both players are available, I'm with you. I go Arquette. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll go before the Reds do pick, and that leaves me back with Irish. And I think Irish is the pick if he's on the board. I know there's been some talk about pitching, and you've got a great show coming out tomorrow as a bonus episode, folks, that does kind of a deep dive on the draft and what the Reds may or may not do. And you've got Jeff Ellis on, who's pretty much a draft expert.
Yes.
He knows all about the draft.
He's covered the draft for a long time.
And I know he thinks pitcher, and I don't necessarily agree with him. And maybe that's a problem now because both Tyler Gibbons and Jeff Ellis have said they should go pitcher. And I want them to go Irish because while he does catch, he's not going to be a catcher. He's going to be an outfielder. Yeah. The Reds need to stock this system with some outfielders. It's pretty bleak after you get past, Rodriguez and
Dude. On the outfield.
On the outfield.
Yeah.
And
honestly, once you get past Rodriguez,
that's it. That's pretty much it. So for me, I go Irish. I tell him straight away, right out of the gate, you're not catching. Yep. You're going to the outfield. Get out there and start working. And I think he could be in the bigs as soon as 3 years from now.
Yeah, maybe even sooner, depending on how quickly he progresses, because he's got the right sort of makeup, and his resume is impressive because he's got plate discipline and good contact with solid power that, most scouts have said are 20 to 25 homer potential for him as a big leaguer. And I'm like, that's fine. It sounds like a better version, looking down the line, maybe even a better version of Spencer Steer. So give me a bunch of Spencer Steers, like we mentioned on an earlier podcast. But I had a clip from my chat with Jeff Ellis on yesterday's show for the third segment, but there's more to it than that. We talk a lot about some different guys, even get into the Reds' second pick. They don't pick again until pick 51. So they go 9 to 51 because the way that the MLB draft is set up, you have comp balance picks and things of all this nature in between the first and the second round. And the Reds don't have any competitive balance picks. So there's a big gap there. And I remember Tyler Gibbons mentioning when we spoke with him, and if you haven't checked out our episode with current Red Scout Tyler Gibbons, he really laid a lot of good things out there strategy-wise and things like that. But he talked about some of the guys that he has seen that he really likes, that he doesn't think either one's going to be available to the Reds at 51, but they might be a little bit low for them to stretch and pick at number 9. Mm-hmm. So I'll be intrigued to see how the draft falls for them. I think there's a really good chance, though, that with Arquette, especially, or even with Irish, they could have a guy that would be part of the team before we're talking about, guys like Elly De La Cruz and stuff like that hitting their contract years. So we're not looking at the further into the future wave as much as if they were to go with a high school player pick, how that would fall.
And I continue to just be way too nervous about drafting high school players.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially that high. And given the amount of space between the Reds' first pick and their second pick, I think you have to go college with that first pick in order to give yourself the best chance of getting that guy to the majors, as you say, before the current window, has to be changed out and retooled. We're going to have a lot more on the draft on Monday after the Reds make this pick. In fact, we're coming your way a lot of ways over the next few days. Jeff's dropping that bonus episode on the draft tomorrow. That will be in the feed. Again, you saw just a piece of that on yesterday's show. Monday, our regular show will be out. We'll break down whoever it is that's the newest member of the Cincinnati Reds. That'll be in your podcasting feed. And if you're in Cincinnati, well, even if you're not, because you've got the iHeartRadio app, Jeff and I, 12 noon Monday, we're going to be on ESPN 1530 with Austin Elmore talking Cincinnati Reds baseball. It's
going to be a lot of fun. We'll be in studio with him for the first hour of that show. So definitely always make sure and listen to Tony and Austin on Cincy 360 noon to 3. But also Austin's going to be solo for next week and invited us in. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Get to talk some Reds baseball with him. But so much coming your way. And I mean, once the draft is over, we're going full on the trade deadline. It's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to break down. There's a list of players that I think that we would see the Reds ideally trade from, not just from our perspective, but I also think from the front office's perspective. I want to break that down next week. I also want to look more at some guys that the Reds could acquire, because it seems as though there are some names that are emerging based on some teams that are continuing to fall off. And we'll get into that a lot next week. But make sure that you are subscribed, become an everydayer, make this part of your everyday routine, because we will be with you all throughout the year. So much left ahead, and then after the trade deadline, I believe these Reds are going to be in it. We're going
to be talking a playoff chase. I really think we are. And we're here towards the end of the show. I know it's our everydayers that are hanging with us right now that made it this far. If you haven't clicked the notification bell, click it, because we're going to have lots of extra stuff coming your way as trades happen, as things happen, as there's breaking news. We're going to be all over that. Get in the comment section. We're going to be talking about the trade deadline. We're going to be talking about who the Reds can realistically send to get what they need back. I would be interested to hear from you all. Who is the one untouchable prospect in the Reds system? The one untouchable young guy that you wouldn't want to see them trade to fix the holes they have right now and win? Jeff and I are kind of both on record as saying that there's pretty much not anybody not named Burns that we won't trade in the right deal.
I think I'd have to squint really hard to agree with the South Stewart trade, but yes, Burns and Stewart are my two.
Right, and for me, it's Burns and Lauder pretty much are the two that I'm not trading. Everybody else is fair game. Who's your guy? Put it in the comment section. We're going to incorporate that into the conversation as we move forward towards the trade deadline.
And that'll do it for us here today. Thanks so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure you check out Tim Daniel on the Reds postcast at the end of every single Reds game. And check out Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB feed. They watch every game every night so that you don't have to. But for Steve and myself, you can always trust that we will be Locked On Reds every single day.
How did you manage to work food into it? We just ate. I mean,
it just makes the most sense. Now it's a good time to go see Superman. Let's go see Superman.
All right, let's go.